terminal or warehouse in Tung, which belongs to an Indian man of extraction, and they've confiscated all the 40 containers, and they are moving them to a secured location. The man indicates that those containers were sold to him last year, and so that's a subject of a matter of investigation, and law enforcement agencies would ensure that the law takes its course. There are also reports of some other areas that they are picking intelligence. They will trace all of them, retrieve all the containers as soon as possible, and put the perpetrators before the courts of competent jurisdiction. Let me just sound that when we start prosecuting these people, let nobody come to say we are witch hunting. These are properties of the states. Every legitimate and legal means to ensure that we retrieve them and to hold all those behind these acts to account. One person, an Indian man of extraction, has been picked up by the national security. 40 containers have been intercepted. He claims that they were sold to him last year. The investigation would continue. We want to secure the containers first. The remaining ones are at the port, and national security is helping us to secure them as well. Now our interest is to also secure or trace the whereabouts of the 1,300 containers, account for them, and put them to good use. There's always a manifest, so we can trace these containers. It's just a matter of time where we would get to know exactly where those containers landed.
Well, let's still stay on this very development, as 12 Chinese and a Ghanaian have been arrested by operatives of national security in connection with this.
Upon the receipt of an investigative report set up by the Minister of Energy, 1,347 missing containers at the Tema port belonging to the Electricity Company of Ghana, the national security set out in motion upon a tip-off to trace the missing consignment. Intelligence led to 2 Chinese aluminium smelting companies that Shai Hills believed to have bought the conductor cables supposedly that got missing. The team entered the first company, Ponlock Manufacturing Limited, and rounded up 8 Chinese believed to be owners and a Ghanaian manager. A search in the premises showed the conductor cables were being melted together with other scrap to form aluminium bars ready for export.
So here it's called the firehouse. So why it is what they cut it into pieces and they feed it into this machine. Then it's then molded into the round pipes.
A further search revealed some of the conductor cables were concealed in car rims. The purpose remains unknown. Convinced that there could be more to the suspicions, the operatives also uncovered the wooden rolls the conductors were binded on being bent.
So all the cables
Examination of the remains showed they were imported into the country in 2024 under the authority of the Ministry of Energy, with the supplier being Avensis Energy Private Limited. The length captured as 6,000 meters, originating from India in July 2024. The operatives then stormed the warehouse and were met with shock. Bundles of the conductors locked up and ready to be melted into aluminium bars. The Chinese owner remains at large.
We got this intelligence that a group of people have been stealing ECG cables, which are stuck in containers at the Tema Harbour, and selling them to various scrap companies. We followed that intel and got to this particular company located in Shai Hills. And we realized that several of these ECG cables have been cut into pieces and then melted into liquid form, molded into round aluminum bars, and then some in powdered form, which they export at very expensive prices. This particular warehouse, where the quantity you see here are from so many containers, that we have been looking for all this while. We have found these cables here, which was actually sold to them with the connivance of some Ghanaians that we are gathering intelligence to arrest.
The team then moved to another company, Dangfang Building Materials, also owned by Chinese, and found similar conductor cables being melted into aluminium bars. The Chinese owner is reported to have traveled to China at the time of the raid. 4 of the Chinese were arrested to assist in investigations. There's currently a manhunt for other foreign nationals and Ghanaians believed to be persons of interest in the investigations.
If you look at the cables, they weigh several tonnage that ordinary human beings cannot just lift it up for you to count. We need machines, especially forklifts, to be able to do that. So for now, what we intend to do is to place 24-hour guard here until we are able to take stock.
Well, away from ECG missing containers, citizen Ebenezer Osei-Owusu has filed a suit at the Supreme Court seeking an order to recall or set aside the petitions for the removal of the Chief Justice, Gertrude Tokonu. Mr. Osei-Owusu's release included a declaration that the President cannot appoint a committee to inquire or make a recommendation on a petition for the removal of the Chief Justice without first providing her copies. He's also seeking an order setting aside the President's decision to consult with the Council of State to remove the CJ as unconstitutional, null and void, as well as order of injunction restraining the President from proceeding to consult with the Council of State to determine a reasonable cause for the removal of Gertrude Tokonu as Chief Justice. And the Chief Justice, Gertrude Tokonu, has formally written to President John Dramani Mahama and the Council of State for her to be provided with copies of the petitions against her. Citing Article 1461 of the Constitution, the Chief Justice reminded the President that if it was requisite for her to be notified of the various petitions for her to respond. She noted that the evidence contained in the petition, coupled with her response, would guide the Council of State to determine whether a case has been made for her to be removed. A letter cited by TV3 and copied to the Chairman of the Council of State asked the President and the Council of State to give her at least 1 week to state her response. Gertrude Tokonu's letter is coming on the back of 2 other suits by MP for Otafo, Vincent Asseifua, and private citizen Ebenezer Osei-Owusu at the Supreme Court seeking to stop the removal of the Chief Justice, citing unconstitutionality of the process undertaken. Well, you can say these are early days yet, and so we'll be following up and keep up on this very development and finish with updates in our subsequent bulletins. If you just tune in, you're watching the Morning News here on TV3. And now the National Intelligence Bureau, NIB, has intercepted a massive consignment of cocaine weighing 3.3 tons en route to Accra from the central region. The operation, conducted on March 4, 2025 at Pedu Junction in Cape Coast, uncovered 143 sacks of cocaine concealed beneath sand in a tipper truck traveling from Takoradi to Waja.
The truck, which had 2 occupants, was intercepted following intelligence gathering efforts by the NIB. Field testing conducted by the Narcotics Control Commission, NACOC, confirmed the substance as raw cocaine. The initial seizure weighed 2,974 kilograms. Subsequent intelligence-led operations on March 8 led NIB officers to a suspect residence, where an additional 13 sacks and 1 bag of suspected cocaine, weighing 345.07 kilograms, were discovered. Laboratory tests by NACOC and the Ghana Standards Authority again confirmed the total consignment, 3,319.68 kilograms, as a high-purity cocaine, ranging between 50 and 70% purity. The cocaine, with an estimated street value exceeding $350 million, is believed to have entered the country via sea using fishing vessels. 2 suspects, Isaac Kweku and Kenneth Kobina, have been remanded into custody and are scheduled to reappear in court on April 2, 2025. The NIB has identified additional suspects currently at large and is pursuing their arrest to ensure all individuals involved are brought to justice. Stanley Nibleu, TV3 News, Accra.
And now the Ministry of Education is to convert some schools in the rural areas into boarding houses. This, according to the ministry, is to reverse the double-track system where some 150,000 students have been affected. Sector Minister Haruna Idrisu was addressing the media when he inaugurated a committee to consider the reversing the double-track system. Take a listen.
The double-track system was rolled out in 2018 to address increase in enrollment into the senior high schools. Students under the double-track were allowed to study for about 2 to 3 months and vacate. More than 300,000 students were under the double-track system when it was implemented. In 2024, government said about 70% of the schools were under the double-track system. But the problem of increased in student population continued to affect the implementation of the free senior high school program. Based on that, the Minister of Education, Haruna Idrisu, has inaugurated a committee to focus on reversing the double-track system.
Functional free senior high school that is adequately funded with supporting infrastructure, both lecture and accommodation. A few of the schools will convert them into boarding schools where necessary, particularly in the rural areas. That will require infrastructure support, but we'll do that in order that they are absorbed into it.
He also spoke about securing funds to complete STEM and E-block schools to accommodate the students.
Regrettable that a few of the Get Farm projects dating back 2014-15 that were started, many of them stand uncompleted. From my reading, I have about 62. We intend to work on some 22 quickly with our CAPEX budget, if that allows us.
In a related development, the sector minister, Haruna Idrisu, was also concerned about improving quality for the free senior high school program. He directed a committee to consider the cost of implementing the free SHS program in private schools.
That even part of the manifesto pledge was to extend the expansion realm to private free senior high school. Don't hesitate. Let us know what cost is involved. Government will take full responsibility for that cost. What we want is every qualified Ghanaian child who deserves free senior high school must have it.
Away from education, let's delve into health as the National Health Insurance Authority, NHIA, has reiterated their commitment to ensure service providers' claims are paid on time to ensure the effectiveness of the scheme. The head of corporate communications at the NHIS, Faustina Derry, who was speaking in an interview when the authority paid a courtesy call at the Media General, said with the uncapping of the scheme, service providers will have to pay on time and ensure the smooth running of the scheme.
Dr. Victor Bampo has a vision, and the vision is now that the scheme has been uncapped, claims are going to be paid rapidly in order to ease the burden of the service providers, so that there will be no out-of-pocket payments to the general public. This will enable every Ghanaian enjoy the quality of free national health service, because over the years there has been complaints from the service providers that usually claims are not being promptly, and this is the main reason why they charge patients when they bring in national health insurance cards. This time around that we've been uncapped, we can assure our Ghanaians that there will be out-of-pocket payments anytime you visit your service providers. You will get your quality, free, effective healthcare service that you deserve.
And our government has appealed to media practitioners to champion the implementation of the National Sanitation Day, which is expected to be launched by the President on April 2. At a forum with news editors, the local government minister announced that 5 million cedis has been allocated for the implementation of the program.
The Minister for Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Ahmed Ibrahim, has engaged news editors from various media houses on government's reintroduction of the National Sanitation Day, which is expected to be launched on April 2nd, 2025. After the launch on that Saturday, which is April 5th, 2025, the first national or nationwide cleanup exercise would take place across the country. Government says it is resolved to addressing the sanitation challenges in the capital and across the country.
It's going to be National Sanitation Day and National Sanitation Week. So clearly on the 2nd of April, which will be next Wednesday, it will be launched by His Excellency the President at Manche Agbona Park. Then on Saturday, April 5th, then the exercise will start nationwide. After that, there will be National Sanitation League. No soon the DCs are going to be mentioned.
Government has earmarked some 5 million Ghana cedis for the implementation of the National Sanitation Day for the rest of the year ending 31st December 2025, and it is going to happen every first Saturday of every month.
We are not going to joke with the sanitation issue, and it's going to be a kind of competition. And it is not just going to be naming and shaming. We are all going to be at work.
For media practitioners and editors, the concern is really one about the sustainability of this program.
I know other churches, Saturdays, they go to church. So my concern has to do with how are we going to get these people to also participate for this national call.
As to how to implement it, for it to escalate, for Ghanaians to, applaud them on that. That is all what we are looking at. But collectively, I think with their media engagement, we can all come together and help them do it.
Our meeting with the minister, he made mention of this inadequate budget, being allocated to the ministry. 5 million, for me, is inadequate. I think the government has to do something about it.
In a bid to make this highly competitive among the regions, there would be a National Sanitation League, which would be ranking regions as well as metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies to know which assembly, which district, which region is doing better in the sanitation fight. Christian Yale, TV3 News, Accra.
Well, so Christian Yale listed the views from news editors. Let us know what you also make of this. Go on to Facebook, TV3 Ghana Real Life. Engage us with your comments and opinions on stories and others that will be aired later in the bulletin. And now the Ghana Armed Forces incurred indebtedness to a tune of over $38 million from the Peacekeeping Fund. Chairman of the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament, James Adaga, during consideration of the budget estimate for the Ministry of Defense, says the situation is affecting peacekeeping and operations, and immediate reinvestment is needed.
We require to keep our troops in conflict areas, including Boko, presently active, well-fed, and because of all these issues, we think that we would have needed more than we have. However, what we have, we will manage with it.
Over 6 billion cedis was approved for the ministry. The Interior Ministry and National Security budgets were also approved. On local government, it was revealed that government between 2023 and 2024 owed the sanitation industry over 1.2 billion cedis. Thus, some MPs expressed worry that the arrears may not be paid due to a lack of dedicated funding to the sector. The House has meanwhile approved the budget estimates of over 4 billion cedis for the Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs Ministry. The House also approved the budget estimates of over 2 billion cedis for the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, as well as over 1 billion cedis for the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. Some MPs, however, complained about the inadequate funding being allocated to the Lands and Natural Resources Ministry. Several other ministries, departments and agencies' budgets were approved by the House.
Well, on that parliamentary note, we end the morning news. For more news updates, you'd want to log on to our website, it's 3news.com. Also follow us on Instagram, 3news.gh, for all the latest updates. And let me just leave you with the word itself says, I'm possible. My name is Josh Quinn. Thanks.